to where every layer that we went through, she was showing remarkable health changes.
Being from a man's standpoint and a southern country boy type person is how I grew up. I first thought it was hocus pocus, you know, and I had my doubts, and it took a while, but I see now that it's phenomenal. It truly is.
I've become healthy enough to what I think is living a normal life again, because now I can clean my own house. I can cook my meals. I can even work in the yard. I can even wash my car. I can do things that I never thought I would ever be able to do again.
It's 180 degrees from where it was. It's just a total turnaround. It really is.
I really don't know how to explain the difference in the way I feel. It's like I died and I come back to life. And I never thought that I would ever feel this way again. I got my life back. I got my life back. And it's wonderful.
We're on the threshold of an entire new understanding of how disease happens, how information is transferred, and how to enhance information transfer within living systems. There's a vast increase in chronic disease in our community, and I believe using these information methods that we can treat the chronic disease that couldn't be treated before.
One of the most remarkable instances of the effectiveness and the instantaneous effect of informational medicine I heard about recently, and it had to do with this system called thought field therapy, which is an energy psychology that supposedly heals and changes negative thoughts around us. And the theory is that negative thoughts hang around us almost like a net, and they affect bodily systems. They use this system in Kosovo with survivors of the war in former Yugoslavia. These were families who had been severely traumatized because the Serbs had killed half of a family just so the survivors would be demoralized. So they took a group of people who had severe post-traumatic stress syndrome, who would have required years and years and years of talking cures and medicine and all that sort of conventional thinking. And they gave them thought field therapy. And to a person, this is 100% of the people in this study were made virtually instantly better, to the point where they were laughing, joking. They were healed completely from this trauma. Even the practitioners of energy psychology were blown away by the power of this modality. But this just gives us one small example of the power of using information as medicine.
So the most important thing for people to do is to take total responsibility for their health. Not to think that it comes from outside themselves or that somebody else can give it to them. And by taking total responsibility, that may mean they have to start with choosing the thoughts that they think so that they are in a good state of mind, the state of mind that's most conducive to healing.
One of the fundamental things that has to change in the future of medicine is this focus on the gene as being the solution to every illness. If you look at what epigeneticists are coming up with, you have an understanding that the gene is really subordinate to this outside information system, and that we have to look at information rather than the gene as being the thing that we have to crack, so to speak. We have to come up with information systems that regularize the things that go wrong.
I think there is absolutely no question that healthcare today at a global level is in crisis. And it's a crisis of meaning, it's a crisis of economics, it's a crisis of leadership, and it's a crisis of our models and our understanding of what promotes or facilitates healing.
We do things like we have a war on cancer. We try to destroy invading organisms. It's a warfare model of health and disease and how to treat disease. And the body really doesn't go for that.
we have to learn from other cultures, from other traditions, from the observations of all the different kinds of healers that are working in our own cultures at the moment. We have to take the best of modern science and use it to integrate what's going on.
What we need to do is foster a revolution that shifts our model from a disease-centered orientation to a healing-centered orientation. And once you begin to make that move, you are, responsive to a variety of different factors that can facilitate or enhance our natural healing capacities.
I think we can rightly say the revolution has begun. Not just in my case, there are research workers all around the world who are thinking much the same and who have research data that we can incorporate into these new ideas of the body field. But I think now we have a viable scientific theory for how the body stores and accesses information. So we do have a medical revolution on our hands.
There seems to be this huge body of evidence demonstrating that we can pick up information that almost like an electron, we can be everywhere at once.
So I would say what healing is learning to correct the human body field so that it works according to the original blueprint.
So ultimately what I'd like to see is a shift from this disease-centered to this healing-centered model, and recognizing that healing is a profound mystery and that we have so much to learn, and rather than presuming we have the answers, staying open to the possibility that there are new things that we can discover for how to enhance the human condition.
The mind is the functioning of the brain that interprets the environment and adjusts the biology. So rather than being controlled by our genes, our biology is controlled by our mind. And when you understand this, then you realize the power of being able to change your mind, because when you do that, you change your biology and your genetics.
If someone's sick, they don't want to know whether pill X works better than a placebo in a double-blind trial. What they want to know is, what's the best kind of treatment?
I believe that we are more powerful than we realize. I believe that many of the medical techniques that we're finding to be very successful, people can do on themselves once they understand their own energetics.
It's very clear that negative information is deleterious, or that if you accept it into your body and into your belief system, it will change the way you react and change your state of health.
We know that from work by William Tiller and others, we found that when you begin to work with reconnective healing, there's an amount of, I believe he calls it, excess-free thermodynamic energy that is released. That if this were just energy or just energy healing instead of the reconnection, for this amount to be released and this change to happen in people, it would require that the room temperature rises over 300 degrees centigrade, which of course does not happen because we're accessing something new and something different. Coherence is the natural resonant state of the human body. In other words, we do have, us humans, we have a resonant frequency. Okay? And it's also what we call the coherent state.
So a miracle starts with a change of thinking. It's like when I changed my thinking about my tumor, and I decided it was my best friend and my guide, rather than it being the worst thing that had ever happened to me. That was the miracle. When I gave it permission to stay to the end of my days, that was the miracle. People think it's the end result, but it's not the end result. It's the change of thinking which leads to a completely different inner state.
You need both. You need the will to be healed and the good information from a therapist, from infoceuticals, whatever. Yes, of course. This has to come together. This has to match.
So healing is restoring the body's own self-repairing mechanisms. And that's the biggest thing as a doctor you can achieve, that you can help your patients with restoring their own repairing mechanisms.